we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Rachel's Reviews. I am really thrilled today. This is our monthly Female Film Critics Speak Out panel that I've been doing since the beginning of COVID. It's so much fun for me to get to talk to other critics and bloggers and YouTubers that are awesome, dynamic female voices in the space of film and film criticism, and hearing our stories and talking about the experience of what it can be like for both the pluses and the minuses of what this experience can be like. And today, I'm very excited today. Katie Carter's here.
Hey.
Yes, and Kristen Maldonado is here.
Hello.
Yay. So what I want you to do, I'm so grateful that you came on to talk about these your experiences. But if you can just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you started your site and your whether it's a blog or a YouTube channel or whatever you might do. What about you, Katie?
Yeah, so I got into film like right before I started high school, and I got into classic film first. Actually, I just kind of randomly started watching a lot of Turner Classic movies, and I watched one movie and was like, oh, that was really great. What else is out there? So I kind of became immersed in that world and learning about film history and all that. A couple of years later, I then got really into watching this channel called Reels Channel. It's still around, but it's like totally different now. But back in the day, it was just 24/7, like movie news and trailer reactions and all that good stuff. And they would have film critics on a lot to talk about new releases and award season and all that. So I watched these critics and looked them up online and read their stuff and was like, oh, I wonder if that's something that I could do, because I've always loved to write anyway. So after I graduated high school, I started writing for a website. I wrote for them until 2016, they shut down. And then from there, I was like, well, I still want to write movie reviews. So I started my blog that I'm doing now. It's called Katie at the Movies. And yeah, just been doing that since then.
That's great. I didn't realize you wrote for another site like that. That's very interesting. So you got your you whetted your appetite. You started your career doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Kristen, what about you?
Yeah, so I grew up obsessed with musical theater. So, I was like a theater kid, and I loved performing, and I studied that in school, and then I kind of like in college realized like maybe there's a way I can combine my love of performing and also just like talking and analyzing movies and TV shows and pop culture into something. So I joined the radio station at my college, and I changed my major like really, really late into college, and I became a broadcast journalism major. And I was trying to do as many internships as I could possibly do to get a job. And at the same time, I was like really interested in being like an on-camera personality type of person. And every panel that I went to related to journalism, they were like, if you want to be on camera, you need to like put yourself on camera, go somewhere, like film a reel, film stand-up somewhere. And I was like, okay, well, what if I like do that and like, I don't know, just like do more of that, like put it on YouTube. Like, what if I like make my own little show and like talk about pop culture and entertainment? And, I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew that I wanted like experience on camera so I could like be the next, I don't know, like Ryan Seacrest or something. And then slowly I was like, wait, actually, maybe this is becoming something. So I started uploading videos on YouTube. I started doing more movie and TV reviews and more analytical videos. And then it kind of just like slowly started to become a community. And then my kind of plan changed from being like, how can I get experience to, okay, I'm creating my own thing. And I haven't looked back. I like continue to make my videos. I launched a podcast earlier this year. And then in addition to that, I also still have a full-time job working in social media. So just, always surrounded by social, digital, and entertainment 24/7. That is just what I love. And yeah, that's kind of how I got my start.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Because I work in social media as well. I'm basically like a full-time blogger that I do, for my day job. And when they had the blackout social media thing for like a whole day, I was like, I don't know what to do. What's going on? Like, because it's such a part of me. Everything for the podcast, everything for my job. And you're just like, well, I can file stuff for a little while, I guess. That's all I have to do.
Yeah, it's like I need the computer and the internet. Otherwise,
Yeah.
like I don't know what I'm doing, I guess. Maybe I'll read for a little bit. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So when did you start working for MTV?
I started working for MTV when I graduated from college. That's
Okay.
my first job that I got out of school. So that was in like 2013. I graduated like in December of 2012 because since I switched my major, I had graduated a little bit late. And then I started my YouTube channel like right after that, around 2014.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So, Katie, when you started reviewing older films on your blog, uh, do you find that people are pretty open to discussion as far as these? Because sometimes people can be really persnickety about the classics if you have any criticisms at all.
Yeah, people are generally pretty nice about it. I find that there's like a certain sect of people who are like very adamant about what is considered a classic film and what isn't. Like I got into that with some people about Star Wars one time, the 1977 Star Wars, and whether or not that was a classic movie. But generally, people are cool with it. They like to learn about it if it's not something that they already know, or maybe it's a movie that they also love and they don't see a lot of people talking about it. And it's like, oh yeah, I love that movie too. Yeah, I mean, it's generally been a pretty good experience. And I guess one of the benefits of this year is that I've really been able to devote a little bit more time to that, because prior to this year, I've mainly just been trying to keep up with the new releases. So to be able to go back and kind of look closer at some older films has been fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're a big Disney fan too, right?
Yes, I am.
Yes. That's what I thought. Me too. And the Disney fans can be a lot. They can definitely be a lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm a big Star Wars fan. That's like my favorite thing. So,
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. Yeah, I mean, I'm really into fandoms, but I mean, I'm fortunate that I've found corners of the internet that are very welcoming, but I know that can be overwhelming for sure.
Yeah. Are you a pro sequels fan or a pro prequels fan, or just all together you just love Star Wars?
Altogether, I love Star
I love
Wars.
that. That's
That's
great.
the simple answer.
Okay, good. Very good. Well, Kristen, what do you think is important about having female voices, particularly in the YouTube space? There's not that many of us in the film commentary YouTube space that are women. And what do you think that voice adds to the world of criticism and to just YouTube in general?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that just generally having different types of people criticizing and reviewing projects is so important because it opens you up to other ideas and opinions and lifestyles and what other people experience. If you always have the same person and the same type of person reviewing something, then you don't really widen that bubble of like, actually, maybe this project is a masterpiece to another group of people, or to, like maybe, a guy is not going to understand a specific film the way that a woman would, or the opposite way, and I think it just like allows you to see from a different perspective. And like, I think the more perspectives that we get to see out there, the better. Because there are some films out there that maybe appeal to a specific audience, and if that audience doesn't get a chance to review it or critique it, that film might go under the radar when maybe it really is destined to be something greater, or maybe it's not. But you don't know unless you have different voices out there sharing their own opinions and their thoughts.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about that, Katie?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. I think the more perspectives that you can get, the better. If you only have straight white men reviewing movies, I mean, no, they don't all come from the exact same background. They're not all going to have the exact same opinion on a film, but that's just one perspective, and you're leaving out whole giant groups of people. And, you know, men may be able to look at a certain film and review how the story works on a surface level, or the actors' performances, or the cinematography, or the music. But if it's a movie about a woman or a Black person or a gay person, they're not going to connect with it on a deeper level. So it's really important to get those voices in there, and so they can, you know, say, yes, this is authentic to my experience or not.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I definitely saw that, especially with, if you look at the Star Wars films. I've never heard a single female critic talk about the Mary Sue thing. And I'm not saying that that isn't a thing and doesn't exist. And I was disappointed in the end with how little they developed Rey. I was hoping, because when they first brought up that criticism, I was like, lame. But I have to say, I was hoping that they would give her more and do more with her. Yeah. But nevertheless, I just think that that you need to have, if you're going to have that kind of critique about female characters, I think it's worth having a female voice weigh in on the discussion. I do.
Yeah, and I think going off of that, when Mulan was coming out, I felt like before it actually dropped, there were, all the reviews that I was seeing were super, super, super positive. And they were all from like very similar types of people. And then the minute it came out, and like people that were actually of like Chinese or Asian descent were watching the movie, they were like, actually, and then you got to hear other people's perspectives from other backgrounds. And it was like, well, you know, you kind of get a different analysis of something. Whereas like maybe one person saw it and was like, oh, well, they did a really great job with the action, or like, oh, they did a really great job of making her, not very like, clumsy and things like that, you know, or giving her certain skills or whatever. But then you see someone else who actually is from that background perspective, and they're like, actually, this isn't right. I didn't like this. And you don't get that unless you actually talk to the people from that background. And I feel like it makes it just like, I want to see those reviews, you know, like I would rather see a review from an Asian American person on Mulan and get their perspective than someone who like has no connection to the culture or doesn't know anything about it or isn't a Disney fan. And I think we've actually even been seeing that recently with some horror movies that have come out recently, where it's like, you know, a New Yorker or whatever review from someone who doesn't like horror reviewing horror. And it's like, well, but you don't even like it. So
yeah,
how are you?
Yeah. Or there was there were those critics that reviewed the Witcher show, I think that's what it's called, and they just watched the first episode and they reviewed the entire show, and I'm just like, I responded, I'm like, I think it was Variety or something like I volunteer. I'll watch it all, I promise.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. And so that can be frustrating, and I've learned a lot from listening to other people's point of views. It doesn't necessarily change my opinion. I liked the movie Green Book. I thought it was a sweet story. I enjoyed it. Do I get the criticisms that people have brought up? Absolutely, I do. And I think it does make me change. It doesn't make me necessarily change my opinion, because I still think the good in it is good, but it maybe makes me look at it in a new light and just appreciate their criticisms. I think you can do that. That's a thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And do you think as a whole that there are, because we kind of divided, definitely living in the Hallmark space, I spend a lot of time in sort of female branded content, right? And then there's obviously stuff that is sort of branded as more masculine. And what do you think about that? Because sometimes I appreciate having stuff that is made for women, but that you don't want to be pandered to either in that. What do you think about that, Katie?
Yeah, it's hard because, you know, I mentioned before, I'm a big Star Wars fan. I have been since I was 8 years old. And growing up, I always just kind of felt like okay, yes, I love this thing, but I always felt like, oh, it's still a thing that's for boys. Like it's not made for me. And I felt that about, you know, so many different franchises and films and shows throughout my life. I don't know. I can't put it into words what
No,
I'm
you're
thinking.
fine.
But
Yeah,
I guess I definitely get like the being pandered to though, because I felt that way with like Captain Marvel, where I went in and I really wanted to like it a lot, and I recognized that it was a big deal. It's like the first, you know, Marvel movie with a female lead, but it just felt like it was trying so hard to get the female audience with some of the scenes. And I don't think that, I think that too many action movies with the quote unquote strong female lead try to do that nowadays. And I think you can have a female lead who is like this great action hero, this great warrior, but also has that soft feminine side and can fall in love and can like to get dressed up and all of this. So I think you can definitely have both.
well, and that's what I liked about Wonder Woman is that you had both sides. You had her softer side and she's just dancing. And I love that scene in that movie where he says, well, who will sing for us if you leave? You know, it's just so sweet. So I felt like that movie did a really good job of having, you know, she's cooing at babies. She's, you know, and obviously has the no man's land and the kick butt scenes and everything. What do you think, Kristen?
Yeah, actually, it made me think of the movie How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I don't know if you guys have watched that one, but I watched it, I rewatched it recently, and the character of Andy is trying to be this like serious political journalist, but she works at like a fashion type of magazine, and she kind of like even judges the work that she's doing as like fluff. And I think that that's something that we see a lot, like when it comes to how women are portrayed, is that like if we see things like, oh, she's interested in makeup and hair, that it's like seen as less than, and you know that she's not serious. And I think that that's just like a stereotype that we need to break, because there are a lot of different types of women out there, some that are tomboys, some that are not, some that are a mixture of both, some that, you know. And I think that that's something that is like a society thing that I feel like we just need to like get away from, because yeah, women should be allowed to enjoy a nice Hallmark movie, and men should be able to enjoy it too, and women should be able to enjoy a good action movie, and men should be able to, you know, like we should be not so confined by these like boxes that we make for people. And I'm hoping that like over time we'll start to see that more reflected in our cinema, because I think what we see on screen is like how we kind of treat people in the real world sometimes, you know, when it comes to stereotypes of people and gender and things like that. Like you kind of, I don't even know if people necessarily do it purposely, but I think people kind of replicate what we see on TV and think like, okay, well, that's what a woman should be like, or that's what a guy should be like.
Yeah, that's one thing I really liked about Frozen is that I liked that both sisters were valid. You had sort of the more feminine, sweeter, you know, more kind of classic princess in your in Anna, and then you had your more sort of tough, strong, kick butt kind of more character in Elsa, and both of them were valid in the script, and both of them were important. And I actually really liked the sequel, and a lot of people didn't, but I really liked the character growth for both, and I just love the fact that both of them are queens at the end. That's awesome, and because I really get annoyed when people immediately discount anything that's sort of traditionally feminine as being less, and women can do it worse than almost anyone else. You know that, oh, wearing pink or doing anything that's girly is somehow less valid, or and I hate that. And you definitely see it on with Hallmark and Hallmark movies. Not that they're not worthy of lots of criticism, I get it, but they also have films that are starring women, about women with careers, and that just happen to fall in love with Christmas, right? uh, and so I think it's really important to do both, to have the strong, confident women, but then also have the sweet and the feminine and because that's still a thing. That's still a part of being a woman.
Like Elle Woods, she can wear pink. She can, scent her letters and also, be a kickbutt lawyer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I get really irritated when I feel like little girls are made to feel kind of bad for liking pink things or liking girly things, or little boys, who cares? But because that's not bad. That's great. If that's what they like, then they should like it.
Yeah.
And
And
I
I
don't
think
know.
we just need to be able to see more people in those kinds of spaces, like people of color. I know we've talked about this show before, Rachel. Drop Dead Diva. I felt like that was such a great one where we got to see like a plus size woman being confident and being a really successful lawyer, but also being really girly. And it's like, we need more characters like that, that we're seeing like different types of people in these roles. Because there are really people in these that live these lives. It's just we don't see it on TV or in movies all the time.
Yeah, Katie, have you ever seen Drop Dead Diva?
I have not.
Oh, it's so good. I love the show. It's so
like,
good.
Like 7 or 11 seasons? I don't even remember now.
Maybe something like that. So I have a weakness for some reason for stories about people that switch places. I love that. Switch bodies, switch whatever. and so I love Your Name, which that's the plot in Your Name. I love Freaky Friday. I love that whenever they do that. And in Drop Dead Diva, it's about a supermodel who dies, but she dies too early. She gets sent back into the body of a plus size lawyer. And so it's the supermodel in the body of a plus size lawyer, and it's so cute. Anyway, I love it. Yeah. And Sweet Magnolias is, I think, a really good example of having a really diverse group of women, and still being fun and classic but also adding some sort of more modern elements to it. Did you watch that show, Kristen? Sweet Magnolias?
I didn't get to finish it, but Heather Headley, man. Oh, I need to.
Oh, so good.
I need to.
Very good. Yes. So I think that's really important and very, very true. And so how would you say that your reception has been in the world of criticism in general? You, Kristen, were just added to Rotten Tomatoes not too long ago.
Yeah.
So that's so exciting. But what's that been like for you? Because that can bring a whole new level of scrutiny to your reviews.
So far I haven't had any problems, knock on wood.
Yeah. That's good.
And I feel really lucky. Like, my audience is mostly very positive and like welcoming and optimistic. So I haven't really had too many, difficulties. Of course, there's times where people maybe don't agree with my reviews or something. And I think everybody gets hate sometimes, but I'm very much a kill 'em with kindness kind of person. So, if you don't like my review, that is totally fine. What do you think? Like, let's talk about it. Yeah, so I haven't had, too many like issues, but nobody's gonna agree on everything. There's someone might like a show, someone might not, someone might like a character, someone might not. And the whole thing is like, that shouldn't make a big difference because everyone likes different things.
What about you, Katie? You felt like you were pretty even in the Star Wars space, or not? It's been hard.
I've had a mostly positive experience for the most part. I mean, I don't have like a huge following online or anything like that. I'm not on Rotten Tomatoes, so I'm not out here, attracting too much attention to myself. But I think the most times that I've gotten like bad reactions have been when I had tweeted out an opinion and it got picked up somewhere, and then people started coming for me. That happened with Joker. Pretty bad. My tweet got picked up by the Daily Mail apparently, and people just started DMing me and commenting some pretty nasty things.
Did you like it or not like it?
I hated it.
Yeah, it's particularly the one nice thing about having all of the franchise films getting moved this year was we didn't have to deal with that, because it's particularly bad with comic book movies. It's the worst. It's where you get it the worst is with comic book movies.
Yeah.
So that's been kind of nice.
Yeah, and like I actually like really love the Batman universe. Like I grew up on the animated series and the movies. I love Nolan's trilogy. So I mean, I wasn't out here trying to hate Joker, but I hated it. But
You should
people
be
were
allowed
like,
to say that and
Yeah.
not get in trouble. Like it's your
Yeah.
opinion.
it sucks that like every time I feel like sometimes I get on Twitter and I'm like, I want to say what I thought about this, but ooh, maybe I shouldn't. But we shouldn't like be afraid to start a conversation about something.
Yeah. Well, we've got your back. Don't worry.
Thanks.
Yeah. It's so funny to me, especially about Joker, because you're not the first, that's for sure. That got a lot of pushback on Joker, and I waited until right before the Oscars to review Joker because I was just like, oh, I don't want to review it. But the thing that's funny to me is that the people that respond so hatefully to someone who doesn't like it, I just think, did you watch the movie at all? Like the whole message of Joker, I didn't love the movie, but the whole message is about how we treat other people and how we, that the host, is mocking him and treating him badly. And
the moral of the story.
Yeah, I'm like, did you watch the movie at all? It's so weird to me. But I don't know. What would you say, Kristen, is an unpopular opinion that you have had that was your most unpopular opinion?
I would say one of my more unpopular opinions was that I didn't really like Netflix's She's Gotta Have It. It's the TV show version of the Spike Lee film, which is funny because like the first season, people were like, "You didn't get the movie." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about the show." And it wasn't good. And then I reviewed season 2, which I thought was slightly better, but still not good. And people were like, "Yeah, this show's trash." I'm like, okay for me for season 1, but you didn't like season 2 either. So what are you talking about? But again, it's a very much a kill 'em with kindness. Like all my responses on there were kind of like, okay, cool, no problem. And then everyone was like, actually, I remember someone replying back to someone else after they had already been like, you don't know what you're talking about, and was like, actually, she's really nice, so like, leave her alone. She's just sharing her thoughts. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, when I had the Shazam fallout, because I wasn't a big fan of it, and on my review, I did have those people who were like, hey, wait a minute, leave her alone. I was like, yay. Thank you. And it is very ironic that now a lot of the Snyder cut people have kind of turned on Shazam and they don't like it anymore. And it's just so funny because I hear them giving the same arguments against the film that I made about the film, and I'm thinking, where were you?
Yeah.
Your tune has changed quite, hasn't it? I'm not expecting apologies. Don't get me wrong. But another one I thought of is I really did not like Martin Scorsese's movie Silence. I did not care for that film at all. I almost walked out. I was just, because to me, I've served as a missionary for my church. And so missionary work is very close to my heart. And I get it. Not every missionary experience is the same. This was a totally different culture and then a totally different circumstance than what I was sharing. But I didn't feel like the movie captured that this character loved the people at all. I just felt like he was an extremely selfish character, and all it mattered was what his reputation would take and what he would, if he recanted his faith, what that would say about him. And that really bothered me a lot because that's just not a missionary to me. A missionary, the people are the most important. He would just watch these people getting tortured. And then I felt like the movie was very repetitive in the torture, particularly. Like there's one scene where a person is hanging and they're bleeding, drip, drip, drip out of their ears and screaming. And we get this whole scene. It's awful, of course. And then literally like 2 or 3 minutes later, they repeat the whole scene over again. And we get the exact same scene of torture again. And I'm just like, are you kidding me right now? Like, what are we supposed to be learning from this? And it just felt kind of, it felt like masochistic to me. I just felt like they were wallowing in the pain of believers, and the fact it was made by a believer to me is just bizarre. I don't understand it. I don't understand what he was trying to say. I really disliked the movie, and I get it. It's hard when you are being critical of something with like that kind of pedigree and that looks so nice, and like because it's easy to criticize like Adam Sandler film or something like that. Like that's not hard. But something that's got all that prestige and looks nice when you actually are like, no, I hated it. That definitely that
I think
causes
that, I mean, that speaks to what we were saying earlier about getting people from different perspectives, because not everybody is going to come from that movie from having the experience of actually being a missionary. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think that's really great that you're able to have that opinion and look at it that way.
I just wanted one scene where it seemed like he really loved these people that he was with. And if you look at a movie like The Mission with Robert De Niro from the 80s, that movie is so much better and has a very similar style, in my opinion, at least Jeremy Irons, where you just feel the love that they have for these people. And I just think, and so anyway, that's an interesting. I also famously didn't like Birdman, which was a very unpopular opinion. I don't know. I feel like Birdman was all style and little substance, in my opinion, and that definitely ruffled some feathers back in 2014. So,
did you guys ever watch the Gem and the Holograms movie?
yes.
Well, this may be controversial, but I didn't hate it.
Uh-huh.
And people were like, what do you mean you didn't hate it? Because I had definitely made a whole like trailer reaction that was like, this looks like trash. Mm-hmm. But then when I saw the movie, I was like, if this was called something else, I think people would have liked it. If it wasn't called Gem and the Holograms, I didn't think it was bad. Mm-hmm. And people were like, ah! And I was like, because I liked something. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was wild. So
I mean, I can see what you're saying. And I know a lot of actually people who, my film critic friend Alonzo Duralde, he defends that film, and William Bibbiani, both of them, they defend that film. I guess I'm just too attached to the original series. I don't know, Gem and the Holograms and the Misfits, and turning her into like a YouTube star. I was like, what? What are they doing?
Yeah, but I think if it was a different movie, like if it wasn't called Gem and the Holograms and it was like called something else, it would have been like, okay, yeah, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. Who knows? That'd be interesting. Yeah, we all have those unpopular opinions. Katie, what about you? We have Joker as far as your Twitter. Did you have any review that really got a lot of the people that had a good discussion after it?
Yeah, this is kind of silly because I feel like I'm definitely not the only person who feels this way.
Uh-huh.
But I think the review that I got the most feedback off of, and it went on for quite a long time, was The Greatest Showman.
Ah, yeah.
I hate The Greatest Showman.
Greatest Showman.
Which is,
you like the music though?
It's okay. I listened to it. I tried listening to it a couple times after seeing the movie just on its own, and it was fine. But eventually, like, my dislike of the movie just kind of clouded it for me. But the music is fine. But just the characters, the story, I was so miserable watching that movie, which surprised me so much because I love musicals. I love movie musicals. I love going to Broadway shows. I wasn't prepared for it to be a masterpiece, but I thought I could at least watch it and it would be fine. But I remember when I first put out my review, as soon as the movie came out, some people were like, oh, that's really disappointing to hear. It looks really good, blah, blah, blah. And then, as I'm sure you guys remember, as the weeks went on, that movie just like picked up so much steam and became so popular and so almost universally loved. And suddenly those people who before were like, oh, that's disappointing to hear, went to see the movie and came back like, wait, why don't you like this movie? This movie is amazing. You're the only person I know who doesn't like this movie. And it just went on for so long. I mean, even months, even now, occasionally somebody who I know will only just now get around to watching it and be like, wait, why did you not like that movie again? And no one was mean about it. It was just kind of annoying.
It's so funny because I feel like that's one that I hear about, that people are like, the movie's not good, but the soundtrack is amazing. And they like love the soundtrack.
That's an interesting. I really enjoyed the movie, I have to say. But in my real life, like everyone I know loves that movie. I mean, it is so popular here in Utah. I think it made the most money per theater of any theater in the whole country, in one of the theaters in here in Utah. It was very popular. and I actually wrote a whole piece on my blog, a whole review called Why The Greatest Showman is the Ultimate Mormon Movie, even though it's not about a Mormon character. It just has so many parts about it that are like ideal for a Mormon audience. In fact, they even did the focus group screening for The Greatest Showman here, and I went to it. This was before I was a critic, so I could do stuff like that. And so I went to the focus group screening, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I like to take credit for the fact that what's her name's the famous Diva singer or whatever. I can't think of her name, but anyway.
Yes.
And so we're giving our feedback, and everybody else in the circle was like, this was amazing and I loved it so much. And I was like, it was really good, except for you can't have her sing. She's not a good enough singer. It was not good. Rebecca Ferguson. I was like, it's not good enough. She's supposed to be this amazing singer. And they ended up dubbing her. And I like to secretly think that
did she originally sing the song herself, and it just was like, okay.
No, it wasn't good. And she's supposed to be, this famous opera singer that's inspiring the whole nation. Like, it has to be good.
Yeah. Oh my God. I listened to Never Enough, like, on repeat. It's so good. So great choice in telling them to get a singer. I'm going to say it was you who did that too. Yeah, thank you.
But just the way that he doesn't choose to stray from his marriage, and the fact that it's very theatrical, because we as a culture have one of the very first buildings in Utah that was ever built. It was a theater. Actually, we have a huge history of theater in Utah. The theatricality of it. If you look at, there's this group called Young Ambassadors, which is that's very popular. I just knew it would be a big hit, and I was right. And and so it's just funny because everybody loves it so much around me. And I had one friend who saw it 8 times in the theater. And so it's just funny to me to then go on Twitter and people are like, it's the worst movie ever. I hate it. I'm like, what is happening? So it's funny that you had that experience, Katie, for sure. I mean, and then I've had movies that I have liked more than the average person, like you were saying with Gem, Kristen. I would say, I was actually just talking about it on Twitter today. Definitely Mary Poppins Returns, because people know I don't tend to like these remakes that they're doing, live action remakes. And so I was pretty skeptical of Mary Poppins Returns. And I mean, obviously the original is incredible. And I went to see Mary Poppins Returns, and I was just completely delighted by it. I thought it was so good. I loved the new songs. I loved Emily Blunt. I thought that there was enough difference in the portrayal of the father, whereas in the original film, the father is not aware kind of his kids and doesn't really love them very much. And then he learns to love them. Whereas in this one, he does love them, and he feels all this guilt and this weight behind him. And I thought that was different enough to be fine for me. And so many other people were like, it's exactly the same movie. It's like, no, it's so good. I really enjoyed it.
Another example of how, like, you know, people take different things away from projects.
And people are like, oh, it's not as good as the original. I'm like, of course it's not. Come on. But if I had to take like a shot for shot remake, like The Lion King, and if I had to pick, or a new movie with new songs and new characters, I'm gonna pick the new one. I'm like, darn it all, you all picked the copycat. Why did you do that? I don't understand. But anyway, I think people expected me to hate it, and then I didn't. Oh, another one recently that I actually liked that nobody else liked was the New Mutants. I thought it was a fun sort of Breakfast Club take on the X-Men universe, and I don't know. It wasn't like the best movie I've ever seen, but I gave it fresh.
One that's coming up is that new movie Freaky.
Uh-huh.
I feel like everyone's talking about how much they love it. I didn't really like it. So.
Yeah.
Let's see what thoughts are. What other thoughts come out when it?
I also recently was not a big fan of Tenet, and I don't know. Yeah, did you see? You got to see it then, Katie?
I did. Yeah. I actually kind of hated that.
It's not good. It managed to just be. It was so loud and it was so overbearing, and the plot was so confusing that it actually was, in a weird way, kind of boring. I just kind of tuned out because I was just like, what's going on? And the score was so overpowering and the sound was so weird. I couldn't understand what the characters were saying. I'm just like, what is happening? Yeah. I don't know. Did you get... Sorry, go ahead.
I saw it at the drive-in theater, and I thought it was just the sound at the drive-in. It's just different from like an indoor theater, but everybody pretty much universally said that the sound was terrible. So
yeah, I kind of wish I had gone to see it at the drive-in instead of at the IMAX, because I could have just turned down my little player. Did you get to see that, Kristen? Did you see that?
No, I haven't gotten to see it yet, but I'm someone who already, like, I need subtitles on everything because I'm just like, I'm getting old, and I'm like, so I feel like if the sound's gonna be like too overbearing, I'm gonna be like, I can't focus. I need to wait until I get home and put my caption.
And people are like, oh, you got to see it a second time. I'm like, I mean, and I don't give other directors, I review the other directors on their first watch. I don't give other directors 2 times, 3 times. That's not fair.
That's true.
As far as I'm concerned.
I didn't like it enough the first time to really want to give it a second go and dig deeper. I mean, if we were to compare Nolan films, like Inception, I liked enough first viewing to say like, okay, yeah, I'd watch that again and see what else I can pick up on. But yeah, I think I'll give Tenet a pass.
Yeah, agreed. But it is fun when you find something that is a hidden gem that other people haven't heard of, and you get to tell them about it and they like it. And there's lots of examples of that for me, but one really kind of silly example is there was a Lifetime movie called Christmas Perfection that I think I have done more for that movie than anybody else to tell you about this movie. I just loved it so much. It's about this girl who she has this Christmas dinner or whatever, and everything goes wrong, and everything's going wrong in her life. She has this crush on her boss, and he doesn't care about her. And she, of course, has this BFF who's in love with her that she hasn't given the time of day with. And anyway, so she has this Irish Christmas village, and she makes a wish that she could have a Christmas like in the Irish Christmas village that her mom grew up in. And the next morning she wakes up and she's in the Irish Christmas village. Like I said, I love like switching bodies, alternate dimensions, all that stuff. I love it. And so first she's just like in love with this. Her parents are together. They're not divorced. Everybody's behaving exactly the way that she wants them to behave. Everything's perfect with Christmas. But then of course, as the days go on, she gets more and more kind of tired of it. And her boss is like her boyfriend in the Irish Christmas world. And it's hilarious. I think it's so funny, especially as she starts to devolve and get more nutty. She's like yelling at this gingerbread girl. She's like, ah, and it makes me laugh. And there's like really weird stuff. Like every day she ends up making a Christmas sweater. And again, as she sort of devolves, the sweaters get more and more like she makes one with like black and gold and all this stuff. And they're like, what? This is your sweater? The way you want? And anyway, I love it. I think it's so funny. And so many people have watched that movie and been like, that was a really good movie. I would never have watched it if you hadn't persisted.
What's it called?
It's called Christmas Perfection. And you can, if you have Hulu, it's on Hulu. So you should watch it. It's really funny, in my opinion.
Tonight.
Yeah. Let me know what you think. And the other thing cool about it is that it has like a deeper layer, because not only does she have Christmas the way that she always wanted, but all the people in her life are behaving the way she thinks she wants them to behave, right? Mm-hmm. Her mom, her dad, her best friend. And then she realizes that she misses the real them, that's not really what she wants. And you know, how often in life do we wish that people would just, why are you like that? You're so frustrating. And but yet we would miss that part of them if they were gone. And anyway, so that's one. Do you have anything like that, like Katie, like a hidden gem?
I wouldn't say that it's definitely not a hidden gem, but a movie that I feel like I was a big advocate for last year was Hustlers, mm-hmm. because I feel like so many people looked at the previews for that movie and just formed this opinion of it based on what it looked like. And it wasn't really on my radar until it came out and I went to see it. And I was just so struck by so many things about it, how it kind of broke down these stereotypes about strippers, how it was really like about the sisterhood and the friendship of all these characters, how there are no men in the movie really, just there's kind of there as background. Mm-hmm. But I just kept hearing all of these people say, oh, well, is it really that good? Like J-Lo for the Oscars, like really? And I don't know, I really wanted to like put it out there that like, actually this movie is not what you're thinking. You should go see it. It's really empowering. It's actually really sweet at times. The performances are that good. And yeah, that just became like a really important movie to me last year, which I was not expecting at all. And I hope that I convinced some people to give it a shot who maybe weren't going to. Mm-hmm. You know, never judge a movie by its poster or its trailer.
That's right. That's always the best feeling, when you can really get behind a movie and maybe convince a few extra people to give it a shot. That feels so good. What about you, Kristen? Do you have anything like that? Do you feel like you kind of really pushed on people that they should go see, and then they ended up enjoying it?
Yeah, actually, I'd like to talk about a TV show, if that's okay.
Yeah.
But I feel like one of the shows that I had kind of like heard about, but nobody was talking about at all, was Julie and the Phantoms on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend. You know, I feel like it was surprising that I wasn't really hearing anybody talking about it, because it's like a Kenny Ortega project, High School Musical, Hocus Pocus, you know, Dirty Dancing. He's worked on so many iconic projects that I was like, how is nobody talking about this? So I did a review, and I also got a chance to interview the lead actress, Madison Reyes. And it was such an awesome project. And I think now, like, people, like, now that it's out, people are slowly starting to like pick up on it and like become like super fans. But it's like led by a Latina who's like in a rock band with these guys who are ghosts. And it's like, it sounds cheesy, but there's something so like heartwarming about it. And it does give you those like High School Musical vibes, but also just like, it feels like what they would do if Disney would let them push the boundaries a little bit further. Like, I know in High School Musical, they never said that Ryan was gay, but like people kind of inferred, but like they never said it. But like in this show, they have an openly gay character who's a drummer in a rock band, and it's like so cool to be able to see like these stories being told, and the music is so fun. They do all different types of songs, some that do sound High School Musical-esque, some that are really rooted in like rock, some that are a little bit more, you know, R&B and hip hop. They even have like a whole like flappery type of musical number in like a old-timey club, and they just do so many, you know, fun different things. And this is a project that I just feel like a lot of people probably were like underestimating or didn't even have on their radars. But I think everyone who's like been discovering it, hopefully from my reviews, I've gotten some good comments that are like, oh my God, I love this show, that, you know, are loving it. And like I know the fans are like very actively waiting for them to be like, you're getting a season 2, you know, and just the whole cast, just even watching them, they feel like they have such great chemistry as like a band. Like you want to go see them on a real tour. So hopefully, you know, one day that can happen. But yeah, definitely recommend.
I need to watch that show. I've just been busy with 100 Christmas movies to watch, but I really want to watch it because I've heard nothing but good things. Our co-host of Hallmarkies podcast, Anne, she loves that show.
Yeah.
And so I really
in like 4 hours done. You'll be done.
Oh yeah, it doesn't have that many episodes then, huh?
They're like half hour. It's very
nice.
quick, but it's really, really good. Like I could not stop. It's definitely one of my favorite shows of the year.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, because I liked High School Musical, the musical, the series, despite its absolutely stupid name.
I love it. I love it so much. The nostalgia. I'm like addicted to it.
Yeah, it was really good. And hopefully they'll be able to do a season 2. I know they got stopped. They were filming. They announced season 2. They were going to film it. And then like I think in March. And then things got stopped, March or April. So I hope we get
because they're doing a holiday special. So unless it's like all like Zoom type of holiday special, but like they're doing for December. So I can't wait.
It's really good. Did you ever watch that, Katie?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you watched High School Musical, the musical, the series?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I'm like an OG High School Musical fan. So all over that.
Yeah, it was really well done. Really good characters. The only character I didn't really like was the school teacher. The teacher wasn't my favorite. Yeah, that was my least favorite episode. The one where they are like defending her, and I'm like, should you?
This song wasn't great either.
No. And like she kind of lied, and she's not qualified. Like what?
They had some good songs in that season in general. Outside of that one. Like Wondering, all the songs Nene sings. I
agree. That was so good. I loved that. So anyway, this has been really fun. Thank you so much for coming and talking about your experiences, introducing my audience to you and your work. I really appreciate it and your perspectives. And so thank you so much. And Katie, how can people find you and your blog?
So my blog is katieatthemovies.com, KATIE. I also am on Instagram at katieatthemovies, and then you can follow me on Twitter. That is KDL_Carter.
Great. And Kristen, how can people find you?
Yes, you can find me at Kaymaldo, KAYMALDO on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram if you add a 1 at the end. And I also host a podcast called Pop Culture Planet, and it's all about like diversity, inclusion, and representation in Hollywood. So
yeah, I get to be on next week. It's gonna be very fun. I'm so excited.
Christmas movies for the finale.
That's right. Maybe if you watch Christmas Perfection, maybe we could talk about it. Yes. All right, good. So you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please check that out. And make sure you check out the Hallmarkies podcast. We have tons of interviews and episodes where we have a whole episode on Dash and Lily with Austin Burke is going to be on. Lots of fun stuff going on. So make sure to check out over there. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. I sure appreciate it very much. And then I also have my Patreon group, which gives you behind the scenes watch alongs with Hallmark, mostly because that's the people I know, talent. And that's really fun. And it's only $2 a month to join. And I really appreciate it. Also have our merch store, which is really fun with tons of festive designs. So take a look at that. And that's all in the description. So thank you so much, ladies. I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll definitely have to have you both on again soon. So thanks again, and Merry Christmas, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Yay.